when you have talent, you are given another chance.
Here's Chris Mannix.
So let's talk about Jrue Holiday, because the market for Jrue Holiday over the next couple of weeks and months, if it goes that far, is going to be robust. Jrue Holiday, while not being Daman Lillard, is still coming off a 19-point-per-game season. He is still considered an elite defender. He was an all-star last year, so you're talking about a guy that was, it was peaking last season as a terrific year. And look, we can point to the struggles he had defensively in the playoffs against Jimmy Butler. That was just a snake-bitten series for the Milwaukee Bucks, really from start to finish. So I'm more apt to believe that Jrue Holiday has at least one, if not more, good seasons left in him. What do you think the market is going to look like for Jrue Holiday? Because to me, I think it is going to be a lot more robust than it was for Daman Lillard. Not to say Holiday is better than Lillard, but Holiday's contract is a lot shorter. He's going into the final year of his deal. He doesn't have the Miami or bust sort of sign around his neck, so there's not that aspect of it. And there are a lot of teams out there, because the salaries is a little bit lower, that aren't going to have to just gut their roster to make the money work. What do you think the market's going to look like for Jrue Holiday?
Well, I think that basically every team is going to be interested, but most realistically, think outside of Milwaukee, who else has a chance, a legitimate chance, to win an NBA championship? I wouldn't be surprised at all those teams, not just do their due diligence with making calls to see what they can get for Jrue Holiday, but seriously consider a package for him, because he is a player that you need to win a championship. And I know that you noted about his playoff struggles last season against Miami. I'm with you that was kind of more of a one-off. I'm more of looking at his total body of work. And when it comes down to this, you need players that aren't going to stop, obviously, elite scorers. That's impossible, but at least slow them down, tire them out, so it's war of attrition as the series goes on. And Jrue Holiday checks that box, as well as provides the occasional additional scoring, and he's a great team guy. So when it comes to how his role is going to be, obviously he's going to need a prominent role because he is a special player. But when it comes to touches and minutes, et cetera, I think that he will be very flexible with that. And so because of that, I think teams can be flexible with their level of thinking here when it comes to possible trade packages.
Yeah, I think the Heat are going to revisit this. I think the starting price from Miami is going to be Kyle Lowry and 2 first-round picks. That's a big part of this. I think the Blazers are going to be able to extract 2 first-round picks for Holiday, which is going to up their haul to 3 first-round picks total in the Lillard deal. I just think there's too much competition for Portland not to be able to get a second first-round pick in a deal like this, even for a player at Holiday's age and with 1 year left on his contract. I think they're going to be able to leverage all the teams that are out there trying to get him, and they'll get a second-round pick. I think Miami's going to be in that mix. I think the Clippers are going to be in that mix. I think Boston's going to be in that mix. I don't know if Golden State will be in that mix, but the Warriors can certainly get there because they've got the contract in Chris Paul. They've got some blue chip players in Jonathan Kuminga, Moses Moody, among others, and they've got draft capital to deal. So they could get into the mix if they so choose. I want to focus here, though, Mark, on which teams need him. Like, who needs to push their chips to the table and get Jrue Holiday? Because for me, it's 2 teams at the top of that list. They're both in the Eastern Conference. I think Miami and I think Boston need to go out and be aggressive on Jrue Holiday. Miami, for obvious reasons. The Heat have had a catastrophic offseason. It could not have gone worse. They lost their 2 starting backcourt players in the playoffs in Gabe Vincent and Max Strus. They are a year older. Jimmy Butler's 34. Kyle Lowry's in his mid-30s. They've got a starting lineup right now, which is featuring 2 players who are minimum-ish or minimum contracts in Josh Richardson and Kevin Love. So they need an infusion. They need help. And if they're going to hope to get past teams like Milwaukee and Boston in the playoffs, even Philadelphia with Tyrese Maxey, you need a defensive stopper. And Jrue Holiday is still that player. So I think Miami, even though it's got to be painful for Pat Riley and company to go back to the table and call Portland about another guard, a different guard, a lesser guard than Dame Lillard. They've got to find a way to do it because the clock is ticking on Jimmy Butler's career. I think that's pretty obvious that Miami has to go all in. I think Boston, though, is right there with him. The Celtics made a lot of moves this offseason to plus up their offense. Getting Kristaps Porzingis was about adding front court depth, which they needed because Al Horford's old, Robert Williams is oft injured. But under Joe Mazzulla, they have become much more offensive oriented than what they were under Ime Udoka. Not to say they're bad defensively, but they're much more offensive oriented. Joe Mazzulla would be happy with this team shooting 53 pointers per game. That's kind of their offensive mindset. So they've got the offensive horses right now. What they don't have is depth defensively. What they don't have is that Marcus Smart-like presence right now. They don't have that guy they can deploy on anybody in somebody's backcourt. Jrue Holiday would be that guy. He would be the guy that you would turn and say, now you guard Damian Lillard. And if you think Jrue Holiday wouldn't be motivated to defend Damian Lillard in the Bucks, you're crazy. It would probably cost the Celtics some combination of Malcolm Brogdon and 2 first-round picks. The 2 first-round picks, again, seems like a steep price, but if you're Boston, what are you holding on to them for? What do you care? Your window is open right now. Your chance to win championships with Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown is right now. Al Horford is 36, I believe. He'll be 37 end of next year. The clock is ticking on his career as well. You've got to go out there and be aggressive in acquiring top-tier talent. And if that means giving up a couple of firsts and Malcolm Brogdon for Jrue Holiday clearly a better fit for this team, I think, than Brogdon, who already has, I think, some issues with the franchise after being dangled in trade talks last year. I think the Celtics are right up there with Miami in terms of the need to get into the holiday chase.
Yeah, I think you outlined Celtics, Miami perfectly. I would add 2 other teams I think would both see them. Philadelphia. Now, I know that Keith Pompey from the Philadelphia Inquirer, he was mentioning that they obviously started exploring that. I've been told the same thing. Now, I think that the complication with this is, who's going to take James Harden. I think that they're going to have to get a third team involved, but I think that just
It'll probably be the Clippers. I mean, it'd probably be the Clippers in that instance.
Right. And with that, I think it's more of the lens of not only what Jrue Holiday can do from his talent standpoint, but just this window of opportunity with the Sixers having with just finding a way to trade Harden before training camp. So that's team number 1. Team number 2 would be what you're saying with the Clippers. I mean, the Clippers, they may get James Harden, but I would argue that they would probably be more enamored with Jrue Holiday because not only does he have, more of a diverse skill set as far as his game, he's a lot more durable. Now, the question's going to be, the Clippers have a really weird predicament where they have depth, but are the handful of those role players really good enough to facilitate a kind of trade when you're obviously not including Kawhi Leonard and Paul George? Guys like Terrence Mann, guys like, Marcus Morris Sr. Can you package that enough together involving a 3-way deal?
Terrence Mann, Mark, to your point, Terrence Mann is the guy that and the Clippers have to be willing to deal. I understand they like him a lot. He's a good player, durable player, 10-point per game scorer, can play a couple of different positions, but you can't hold on to guys like that.
Well, Chris, what I'm saying is it's a no-brainer. I just don't know if that's enough for Portland.
I think they can trade a first. Like like Terrence Mann to me is like the equivalent of a first. That's a young player they can add to that mix. That's a first round pick. You trade another first, you make the salaries work with guys like Morris and something else. I think that is a no-brainer as well. I mean, Jrue Holiday, look, for how many years now have the Clippers been searching for the right point guard? Like, how many guys have they cycled through over the last few years? They've been looking for that right fit. Jrue Holiday, I think, would be an excellent fit opposite Kawhi and Paul George. He brings defensive intensity to that backcourt, defensive intensity they haven't had in a while. Like that, that's a round peg, round hole type of fit that, if I'm the Clippers, if I'm Lawrence Frank, I'm on the phone with Joe Cronin. I'm saying, Terrence Mann, a first, some salary filler. Will that get it done?
Oh, without doubt. And I mean, it's been clear the recent seasons that Ty Lue and his players, they've been more and more vocal about their want that they need a traditional point guard, which is something that Lawrence Frank would kind of downplay in past trade deadlines, saying, hey, it's about modern NBA, positionless players, wing depth. But clearly they have moved closer toward the idea that they do need a traditional point guard. So to stress, Clippers, it's a no-brainer. I just didn't know out loud if they had enough to become a front runner. One thing I would add, though, I know that you mentioned the Warriors. They certainly would have the package. I would doubt that they do this only because of a few things. We have a lot of questions about Chris Paul's fit, and is he going to start, come off the bench? How's that going to work? And this whole idea that Steve Kerr saying, hey, we have 6 stars, we're going to play this out. But I think that they are bullish that Jonathan Kuminga is going to have a breakout season. But even with that, even with them being in the win now mode, I think the thing that could hold them back is just the reality that they have some players that can do what Jrue Holiday already does with an Andrew Wiggins, now that he's obviously a lot healthier than he was in the playoffs, and to a lesser extent, Klay Thompson. So I think with the Warriors, while they certainly will be in the mix inquiring, I would be very surprised if he winds up in a Warriors uniform.
I think it'd be worth watching because the Warriors can just do a 2 first-round pick deal. They can make the salaries work with Chris Paul. I'm sure they'd be reluctant to put Kuminga in a trade like that because Kuminga is one of the few guys with some size up front, a team that's devoid of it at the moment. But that they're a team definitely worthwhile. I get your argument. I understand that. But to me, they're a team worth watching. I think Holiday makes more sense than Chris Paul with that team. They're both on expiring type deals. And look, Holiday may be more inclined to re-sign there. If he likes the situation, if he likes the chance to win, he might want to come back and play a role within that team. All right, Mark Medina, follow him on social media. Listen to him on Fox Sports Radio. Check him out at the Sports Tribune. Mark, always good to catch up, man.
Chris, always good to catch up, and looking forward to seeing you more training camps these next few weeks.
You got it.
Well, we're back with another week of football, and DraftKings Sportsbook is keeping us in the NFL action with great offers every single game day. New customers can bet $5 and get $200 instantly in bonus bets. Throw 5 down on any of this week's epic matchups to walk away with an instant winner. And DraftKings isn't stopping there. All customers can take advantage of 2 new offers every single game this September. So football is more fun when you're in on the action. So download the app now and sign up with the code Mannix. New customers can bet just $5 to get $200 instantly in bonus bets. Only on DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL with code Mannix. The crown is yours.